Graham Plattner has officially withdrawn from Maine's Senate race. He submitted paperwork to remove his name from the ballot yesterday, clearing the way for Maine's Democratic Party to replace him. On Wednesday, Plattner announced that he was suspending his campaign after a woman he dated accused him of sexually assaulting her in 2021, an allegation he denied as false. And as Democrats race to select a new nominee by the July 27th deadline, which they will have to do so through a nominating convention on July 25th, the fallout is reigniting a debate over how political leaders are held accountable. Joining us now, Gretchen Carlson and Julie Roginski, co-founders of Lift Our Voices. Thank you to you both for joining us this morning. Gretchen, this saga is obviously exposing a difference in the way each party approaches the issue of character and fitness when it comes to the holding a position of in office and being a political candidate. What are the ways in which across the board, Republican and Democratic Party, that we can make these standards more consistent and more unified? I mean, I guess the more simple way to ask this is, what are the ways to change accountability here?
Yeah, I think it's problematic, and thank you for having me again, when you have somebody like President Trump, who's been elected twice in office, who had at least 12 women come forward and say that he somehow behaved in a sexually inappropriate way with them. He's also been convicted in a court of sexual assault of E. Jean Carroll. We have Pete Hegseth, who's now our Department of Defense secretary. We have, many other people within the cabinet, not many, but several other people in the cabinet who've had similar accusations. And so on the one hand, I think the American public looks at that and says, how can that be happening at the same time that we are seeing Democrats fall and be accountable for that? Julie and I have worked in this movement for the last 10 years, and, there are blips along the way. We have to wake up every morning and be optimistic about the way we're trying to approach this and trying to educate people on this, but we can't control political parties or how they're going to react to it. I would say, though, that we did see accountability on both sides when we had Swalwell and Gonzalez, a Democrat and a Republican, and both were forced out of office in the last couple of months. And that's a testament to the survivors in this movement and the fact that the American public is believing them.
Just a quick clarification, President Trump was found civilly liable in the E. Jean Carroll case there. Julie, I want to bring you in. As Gretchen was just alluding to, this is a bipartisan problem to varying degrees, right? We have this element 3, where members and former members of Congress who have faced accusations in the ethics fallout. So you have Eric Swalwell, Democrat from California, resigned after sexual assault allegations dropped out of the gubernatorial race in California. Tony Gonzalez resigned after affair with former staffer, who later died by suicide. Representative Corey Mills, who's still running, sexual misconduct and dating violence allegations. Representative Chuck Edwards, sexual misconduct allegations. Obviously, Matt Gaetz, who resigned for the attorney general bid, but then withdrew amid sexual misconduct allegations. One of the things that has been so, I guess, frustrating for a lot of women that I talk to is that on Graham Plattner and a lot of these men, they're like, we told you so. Right. And when you think about the ways in which it's not just like listening to the women who are survivors of these allegations and who say that these things happen, but also there was a Plattner aide who left the campaign because she said there were issues there. Right. And so what is it about this culture that we still have, despite all the work that you two have done, despite the Me Too movement, despite all of the things America likes to say about how much work we've done in listening to women, that has not yet translated itself to politics?
Listen, hi, Eugene. Hi, everybody. I will just answer your question by saying partisanship is a hell of a drug. And I work in Democratic politics. I have for the last 30 years, and I am disgusted at the way that Genevieve McDonald was treated. I think that everybody who doubted her owes her a big apology. I think that Lindsay Fifield, the Republican operative who came forward about Graham Plattner, disbelieved precisely because she was a Republican. I think she's owed a big apology, and I said so at the time. Listen, it is very hard to come forward Genevieve McDonald did not allege that anything happened to her, but she left a campaign that she believed in because she was so disturbed about what she learned about her candidate. I have done that in the past. That is incredibly difficult to do. It is a career ender in some ways. Imagine if he had become a senator, she would have been persona non grata in politics. Lindsay Fifield experienced what she experienced. Nobody had a problem with her being a Republican when she dated Graham Plattner. It only became a problem when she spoke up about alleged violence that he committed against her. And so, I just want to caution people on both sides of the aisle. Republicans don't believe that Donald Trump has ever acted inappropriately towards women, or maybe that it doesn't matter because he's Donald Trump, even though there's ample evidence that he has, including, as you pointed out, a civil sexual assault not a conviction, but he was found guilty, found liable for sexual assault in a civil case. Yet Republicans don't want to believe it because he's a Republican. Democrats, on the other hand, have no problem believing the worst about Donald Trump and about all the Jeffrey Epstein people on the Republican side who might have been caught up, but they cannot possibly imagine that all the women, and there are many who came forward about Graham Plattner, could be telling the truth because they believed in Graham Plattner. Listen, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. People harass or assault other people. That is the sad fact of the world that we live in, and we need to start believing women the first time, not the 27th time. I mean, this pile on Graham Plattner now is pretty rich from people who just believe these women for all these months and almost a year now.
Tony Gonzalez acknowledged his affair, but the others that we mentioned there on that graphic have denied their allegations.
And Gretchen, more on Julie's point, the Washington Post had a story on Tuesday. A group that says it represents more than 1,500 congressional staffers sends letter pushing for change. The group's proposals would expand legal representation for staff, create new support for Senate employees, make independent investigations easier to trigger, and give employees more time to file workplace claims. What does it say that Congress has to be pushed to do something like this when our whole conversation has been about multiple people, multiple allegations, lots of people denying the allegations, but people resigning because of allegations, that Congress has to be pushed to do something that would, in the end, protect their staffers?
Because people violate on both sides of the fence. I mean, we've seen this time and time again. It's about power. It's not about political party. We've actually been advising some of these women caucuses who are trying to come up with these plans. I mean, Julie and I think that the most important part about this is that you have to actually take it out of the government as far as the agency that's determine what's going on. You have to have independent investigations. You can't have a government agency investigating whether or not this behavior has happened. Whether or not Congress will agree to that will be another thing. I mean, it makes it all the more astounding that Julie and I have been able to pass 2 bipartisan laws in the most hyper-political time of our generation with regard to sexual misconduct, where you can no longer silence women in the workplace with forced arbitration and NDAs like you used to be able to. So on the one hand, it's what I was saying earlier. We've made immense progress, but I can understand how the general public looks at this and says, oh my goodness, we still have this and we still have that. And why are we not treating this equally between both the parties? So we wake up every morning with optimism and blinders on and just keep moving forward. And I'm very hopeful that Congress will pass something that will allow their staffers to get better transparency, but I'm not necessarily completely optimistic about that.
Gretchen Carlson, Julie Rajinski, thank you both very much for coming to The Weekend.